All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. So, this live conversation today is brought to you by 12 Weeks to Wellness. We are a national health and wellness coaching provider and have been for over 20 years. My name is Emma Carpenter. I'm the president of 12 Weeks to Wellness, and I am thrilled to welcome Deb Connors to our conversation today. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you, Emma. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. So, most of you know her already as a nationally recognized organizational health expert, but today she is bringing a unique and valuable perspective with both firsthand experience and deep professional insight into how we can better support employees facing serious health challenges. So, Deb, you have been quite public and sharing on your social media about your journey through cancer diagnosis and treatment. And first of all, I just want to thank you for opening up this important conversation throughout the last few months here. And it's certainly a good example of that modeling that authentic leadership that we talk about that is so important in terms of emotionally intelligent leadership and building trust in the workplace. But I'm curious also to see, was there anything specific in your journey that triggered you to want to share this experience and what you were going through, Deb?
I think I wanted to share it from the beginning, but I think I went through a few months without because there is a bit of a stigma about cancer and chronic illness in the workplace, and I think I had that feeling that it might impact some of the work that I was doing. But after a while, I just felt like um, it really would be inauthentic not to share. And I also had a number of things that I learned through the process that I thought would be useful to others. One of them being
Mhm.
advocating for yourself in our healthcare system. So I decided to share, and the outpouring of response that I had from my connections, on social media was really amazing and really important to my healing.
Yeah. So obviously going through a journey like this is life altering, both personally and professional. So what do you think are the most impactful ways that leaders in HR can support employees diagnosed with cancer or other serious illnesses?
Well, I think, aside from the obvious things like making sure that the employee knows what benefits are available to them, their, long-term disability and other benefits through their benefits program and through their EFAP and other services, because we're not always aware of everything that is available to us.
Hmm.
I think the most important thing is responding through a lens of compassionate leadership. And if we respond through that lens, we'll always get it right. One of the principles of compassionate leadership is attending. It's paying attention. It's listening with fascination to the other. And if we're really listening to that employee, um, we're going to know what their needs are. Every cancer is different, so having a policy around how we respond to people with cancer in the workplace is important, but it has to be flexible because every type of cancer is like a different disease. And so the individual employee is going to know um, how they can work if they choose to work while they have cancer, which a lot of people do, or whether they need to be off for a certain amount of time. Um, but they're getting advice from their oncologists and their doctors and nurses, and we really need to listen with fascination to what that advice is and help to work out a plan together.
So, well, yeah, thank you for reminding us about that, the importance of knowing what the benefits are that are available to you. I think that's something that we see a lot in offering, we do wellness and nutrition coaching through that's often offered through the EAPs, right? And often people aren't aware of that they can get that support, specifically also when they go through cancer and be available there to whatever it is to increase their energy or supporting their diet or movement or even stress, whatever it might be. But I wonder also when you're talking about the importance of the leadership here, what is it you think that is holding organizations or leaders back in being able to do that, stopping that?
Well, I think that we often that often comes from, the best place. We don't want to bother the person who's off work, or who's experiencing an illness, and maybe we don't reach out, and they might feel isolated. And so, as someone who's been through cancer, I know it's important to have like one connection. I wasn't working for an employer. I worked for myself, and so I had a number of clients, but it was important for me to be in touch with one connection at each of my clients and not have everybody contacting me, because you just don't have the bandwidth when you're ill like that. But I think that's something that does hold organizations or leaders back, is just not wanting to intrude or bother, and sometimes that further isolates the individual who is ill. So I think it's really important to have that one connection and make sure that, if you're the connection, if you're the HR person or the supervisor, and you're in touch, you're reaching out and saying, we're just thinking about you. Um, how can we help? And, that's one of the other aspects of compassionate leadership is, it's understanding and empathizing, and then supporting, and in supporting, asking how can I help? Because when I was going through cancer, I know, talking to one of the oncologists in the hospital when I was diagnosed, I was asking about work, and what she told me really stuck with me, and that is that your body is going through this stress that's physical, mental, emotional, maybe spiritual, and you don't want to add undue stress. So the things that add that undue stress are things like timelines, deadlines, meetings, and that's what she said. I would add email to that, because we know our cortisol increases when we open an email, and so how can we work in a way that we reduce some of that stress? And what I did with the information that oncologist gave me, is I went to my clients and said, all right, um, I need a 2 week window when you need something from me, whether it be to have a meeting, whether it be, to, get an update to you. I might not take that much time, but you don't know what my chemo schedule is. And so if you're asking me to be on a meeting tomorrow, and tomorrow is chemo day, or one of the 6 days after, which, were days that I didn't feel well, then that's going to be difficult for me. But if you give me a 2 week window, I can always give you a date that works, where I feel good, and I can respond and be energetic, and so it's, having those conversations.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great example, and I can only imagine employees feeling vulnerable upon returning, and not being at their full strength. And so, you're obviously the queen of transforming culture. You even wrote a book about it. So, how can organizations create that culture on understanding of flexibility? So it's not just down to individual leaders, but actually creating this culture to accommodate employees dealing with these long-term health challenges.
Good question. We need to be doing that all the time, not just when we're in a situation like this. So if we are working with our team, for example, on creating, a more positive, resilient team, that's one of the things that I talk about a lot. When a situation like this occurs, we already know how to support each other, and so it becomes easier. We know that creating positive and resilient teams is something that increases organizational performance. And so it's an important thing to be working on. And one of the ways that we can do that is create a set of practices. So and a lot of teams don't have a set of practices. How do we do things? How do we work together? Another piece of it is increasing what we call social reflexivity. And so that is how we support each other in our teams. And we know that the most effective teams are the ones that have 5 positive interactions to every negative one. Most teams are at a 1-to-1. So that looks like, someone comes to a meeting and says, hey, I've got this great idea. And then the next comment is, well, that's not going to work. Or, we've done it like this, we always do it this way, and so if we have one negative for every positive, and pretty soon we don't have those positives. We don't have people coming up with the good ideas because they're always getting shot down. So that's just an example of, the things that we need to work on as teams to create resilience and positivity. And when we do that and we have those, really high positive, high resilient teams, when somebody is dealing with any kind of an issue, whether it be, cancer or illness or something else, we already know how to respond.
So, so some employees might then be concerned that colleagues or supervisors are going to view them as less capable or not as strong and not able to perform their duties, and they may worry about being treated differently or being stigmatized. So, what strategies can the teams then use to implement to foster that resilience and reducing stigma, but still ensuring that employees feel supported without being singled out?
I think education, educating people around cancer and kind of what is the life cycle of cancer. We know that I think it's the latest stat is like close to 30% of people who go through cancer, like we have a 30% higher um, um, success rate, people coming through it and coming back to work, and than we did a number of years ago. We have a workforce that is older, and so we are going to see more cancer, and we're going to see more survivors of cancer. We're going to see more people working through cancer because the treatments are so much better, and we're detecting it earlier. And so, we need to educate ourselves on what that looks like, and if we're doing some education with our teams, bringing experts in to talk about it, then when somebody on the team does experience cancer or a chronic disease, then we understand it better. And so, we reduce that stigma. And we've done such a great job of this with mental health in Canada and around the world. Over the last 10 to 20 years, we've had these conversations about mental health, and we've reduced the stigma. Of course, we have a long way to go still, but people are more likely to talk about their mental health issues like burnout and anxiety and depression, and get the help they need because we've reduced the stigma. And so I think this is an area where we can do that as well.
Yeah. So, Deb, you and I talked about before about the importance of continuing this conversation as well. And so I want to just encourage people, if you want to have this discussion and continue this with us, I'm offering your time and mine here now, just to please reach out and continue this conversation. We're happy to get on a call and just talk about what else we can do to support employees in this and what that might look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Deb, I'm sure you know most most people on the call already, but do you want to just let people know where they can connect with you and how they can connect with you? And
Sure. I think the best place is LinkedIn. I am back. Took a bit of time away, but
obviously,
yes. So, connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a connection or follow me if you don't already, and reach out to me that way. I do have a website, deborahconnors.com, so you can find me there and send me an email through the website. But I'd love to keep this conversation going.
yeah, same. All right. Well, thank you so much, Deb. I very much appreciate taking the time to. It was lovely to have you on our call and lovely to have you back and see you so radiant.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Nice to see
All
you
right.
too.
Thanks everybody for coming.